Damsel, directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo, stars Millie Bobby Brown, Ray Winstone, and Angela Bassett. The film follows a woman who is made to marry into a royal family until this family uses her as a sacrifice to a dragon to repay a debt, and from there, she must try to escape the caves that she's trapped in. I'm usually all for fantasy films, but there are times where modern fantasy films don't seem to hold as much sauce as they used to in the 2000s and before. Damsel is yet another one of those examples that does not have that special sauce at all. Right off the bat, as this movie starts, it looks like it's going to have this ugly, bland, and flatly lit look to the whole thing. Thankfully, once Brown's character gets thrown into the cave, the color grading actually looks a lot more appealing to look at. Unfortunately, a lot of the CGI in this movie isn't that great. There's so much use of people in front of green screen, and a good majority of the film just doesn't feel real, and I understand that it's a fantasy film, so it's not supposed to be real. But when you compare it to the look of a film like Lord of the Rings, it just feels so unearned and so fake looking. Near the third act of the film, the CGI and the dragon definitely looks a lot better, but not by too much. I don't delve too deep into editing, but when there's some things I notice, I have to bring it up, and specifically in this movie, we technically have a cold open before the credits come in, except the movie doesn't really feel like it's presenting a cold open. 10 minutes go by and we're suddenly subjected to opening credits, and it's really jarring here. The acting in this film isn't all that great. I really don't think Millie Bobby Brown is a good actress. In fairness, she's still young, so maybe she has time to grow and progress as an actress, but she's pretty bad, and especially in this movie. Every line delivery she gives is just so grating to listen to, and it's also down to the script having some pretty bad moments of dialogue. Her performance wasn't enjoyable anytime she was on screen, and for a good 40 to 50 minutes she was just on her own. She has to stand on her own for a good majority of the time that she's on screen, and all she's really doing is screaming, which is why I feel like she only ever gets cast. Along with this, her character is completely incompetent when it comes her time to save people around her. She's always late to saving them in peril they're in. She's just a sorry excuse to be the hero of this film. There's some pretty good actors in this film, specifically Ray Winstone and Angela Bassett, who are absolutely wasted in this movie, especially since there's a chunk of the movie where they and everyone else is just chucked aside for a long stretch of time, for where you nearly forget about their characters. Angela Bassett is somehow the best actor here, like she is in anything, but she doesn't give her all here. Her performance is very flat and it feels like she's barely trying, but I respect her for getting another paycheck. It's great to see her doing that. The story and script for this movie is generally pretty stupid. There's one point in the film where we see there has been many princesses sacrificed, and they convey this by showing a bunch of etched in names on the walls of a cave, which was a decent way of getting this across, but Netflix thinks their audiences are stupid. They have a moment immediately afterwards where all of the princesses are these vision ghost spirits that basically show us what we've already just been told, which just makes for a bigger waste of time. On top of showing us that many princesses has been sacrificed and died before, this creates a plot hole later where we are told that there is only one princess left out of 3 that needed to be sacrificed, which makes no sense. If so many have been sacrificed before, it's like the writers forgot their own logic in their own movie. As well as this, there's another plot hole where the dragon only wants to kill royal blood, and the way the dragon can tell someone is of royal blood is because of a ritual done where the prince and princess have cuts in their hands, which causes them to mix their blood, making the princess of a royal blood. This could easily be solved if any of the princesses cut another part of their body so the dragon would smell that they aren't of royal blood. Just because the blood is mixed in one part of the body doesn't mean it would be quickly travel throughout the whole body. It's just completely idiotic when you think about it more and more. On top of all this, the movie gets very predictable and essentially treats its audience as if they're stupid, like I've explained already. If I were to give some positives to this movie, the actual cinematography itself is quite good and very appealing to look at. A lot of the cave scenes end up being lit and shot very well, and it was never really an eyesore to look at. Just the fantasy setting as well is always cool to look at. Even if it isn't used to its full potential, there's always a lot of things to appreciate at how people can create these worlds with all of their lore on top of it. Overall, this movie just didn't work for me. There were many moments that felt idiotic, and a majority of the film was just a slog to get through despite its short enough runtime. The performances left a lot to be desired and were just borderline bad to sit through. There's a voiceover at the start of this movie that makes you think you're in for something subversive, but I feel like I've seen most of this before. Some things in this movie are genuinely done a lot better in the movie Frozen. I'm giving Damsel 2 stars. It's a pretty boring, badly acted, and soulless fantasy movie that will constantly make you think it's more important than it actually is. In reality, it's just another thing to pile onto Netflix's resume of producing shit, and I wouldn't recommend watching it.